and welcome to this week's Karma Cards. You could probably hear that I'm a little stuffed up and congested. I've been sort of down and out with a sinus something going on, and haven't really had the energy to get these cards out until today, which is Saturday for those who are seeing it as soon as it appears. I recorded it on Saturday for those who see it later. Hi, I've missed you. So I'm going to keep this one short because I don't have a lot of energy, but I still felt really compelled to share with you the messages that are coming through at this time. And it is kind of weirdly connected to getting a cold. As you probably know, if you've been watching these karma cards or you watch other people who deliver messages from spirit, there has been so much energy bombarding this planet in terms of solar flare activity. We've had the end of February was crazy. We had one of the biggest solar flares that we'd had in 6 years, plus just more and more flares around it. Just so much solar activity coming off the sun, which means we're getting bombarded with the upgrade energy. And so on one level, when I asked my team, because I haven't been sick for 2 years, and I take really good care of my immune system, so I'm like, what is this? And they said part of it is there's upgrades going on. So you want to test that for yourself. If you also find that you're under the weather or you're just run down, check in with yourself and see, is it an upgrade that's unpacking? Because as I've told you before, we are doing a cellular turnover and we will experience sort of side effects from that. The other thing my team is asking me to ask you to pay attention to is your emotional state. If your emotional state has felt particularly heavy lately, or just things going on in your life are taking on more weight, check in and see if you're processing for the collective right now. Because with all of these solar energy upgrades that are coming through, not only are you processing, but if you're like a light worker or a starseed, you may also be processing for the collective so we can move through this faster. Unfortunately, that is one of the jobs we signed up for. So before you get overwhelmed or frustrated with the intensity of the emotions you're going through, or the duration, I should say, really, maybe both intensity and duration, before you get too worked up about why is this happening, check in and see, is it all yours? Because there's a good chance you're processing for the collective to help us shift even faster. So the message from the team this week is a simple one. They want us to get grounded, because if you are processing, this can unground your energy, right? Because sometimes we get, especially with the emotional component and some degree with the physical components, we'll get ungrounded by the intensity of the energy moving through us. So this is a call and a reminder to get and stay grounded. And I'm sure you already know the ways that works best for you to get grounded, whether it's through your food, like with root vegetables. Those have a lot of nutrients that come from deep within the earth, and that's a good way to get grounded. Being outside, number one way to get grounded. Being barefoot outside, even better. If you're in a climate where it's really wet right now or really cold, probably not going to work for you. But just being out in nature, right? Getting the fresh air, being near trees, being near water, specifically the ocean, another great way to kind of clear your energy system and get grounded. The second thing they want you to pay attention to is, how do you recharge best? Because there are people who are external chargers and internal chargers. Meaning that you recharge best. If you're an external charger, you recharge best when you're around other people. That's what, it's basically extrovert, introvert, really, is what we're looking at here. So you want to be clear about what fills your battery back up. Is it time with others or time with yourself? And make sure that you are doing your best to keep that battery charged. I tend to be more internalized. I need alone time to charge back up so that I have more to give other people. So you want to acknowledge that. I mean, I'm kind of a proponent for self-charging just because it's something you absolutely can control. But that's coming from a predominantly introverted person. So each to their own. Just figure out how you best charge and then keep charging yourself so that you can process this energy faster. I promise you, you do not have to hold on to it so long. And if it feels like, okay, I'm processing for the collective and I'm not moving, check in. Am I grounding? And am I charging? And if there's a no on either one of those, do something to correct it and you'll notice the energy will move on through. So with that, let's look at this week's karma cards. All right, if you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message for this week? And I've got 2 sets of answers. A set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and just feel what is the most potent guidance for you right now. Are you looking for ways to take action, or are you more interested in how things resolve over the next 7 days? And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is from March 2nd through March 8th. And the flavor of this reading. Okay, so really very emotional. So the emotional weight component is pretty strong, meaning that seems to be predominantly what's hitting people, because we've got the moon, which is all about how we're feeling about things, in the sign of Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. So more feelings and intuition in the 3rd house of self-expression and communication. So it's definitely how we're going to be relating information to one another. For those who are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to cherish your feelings by making the right connections. This goes back to checking in and making sure, are these mine? Is this thing I'm processing emotionally, is it my stuff? Or am I processing for someone else, or am I processing for the collective? You might be surprised to find that it's not yours. Maybe the first part of it was something for you, but the rest of it is just for the collective. And I feel like when you get that information, it can help you relax. Because so often we are like, why am I stuck in this loop? You're not. You're just open to process more of the energy at this time. Mental action at this time: enjoy attitudes from the past about the idea in question. This one could be taken one of 2 ways. One, you could look at it personally, and whatever is sort of like at the top of your mind right now. So whatever situation you're in or you're going through or you want clarity on, it's asking you to reflect at how you looked at this before today. So before you were in this situation, how would you have viewed this in the past? It's like saying, like, sometimes we can get perspective from looking backwards at how we handle things before being in the situation, or how we view things before encountering a situation. So that's one interpretation. The other interpretation is the idea in question, they're saying, can also relate to, well, what is the collective processing? And the collective is processing the dark, stagnant energy that has sort of infected humanity and caused us to hold on to a lot of heavy, intense, dark emotions. Right, so enjoying attitudes from the past about this. So attitudes from the past, they keep pointing out like the innocence of children or childhood, or how you would view it from a more innocent or childlike perspective is really what they're saying right now. So it's this idea of how would a child process, if you were to kind of explain this to a child in terms, how would they process what is going on? They would probably see humanity as good and what's happening to it as, oh, that's bad, and oh, they need to get that out, right? There wouldn't be this nothing jaded, nothing pessimistic in a child's perception of what humanity has gone through. It would instead be assume the innocence of humanity and wish for the healthy return of innocence, right? Wish for the healthy clearing of the bad guy, really. So when we're watching events unfold and we're seeing the end time madness behavior in others, right? Because right now it's very polarizing time. You can see people choosing higher timelines, you can see people choosing lower timelines, and it's easy to get jaded by what you're seeing. What, like, you might be choosing a higher timeline but looking down and going, I can't believe so many people wouldn't choose a higher timeline, and what is happening to people and what's happening to society. I mean, it's a hot mess out there because it's falling apart. We're at the collapse of an old system before the birth of a new system. It's not going to look pretty. And they're letting us know that we need to really keep that view of humanity in our hearts pure. That's why we came here. If you start to get jaded or pessimistic about it, or stop liking humanity because of seeing it's the worst of it, then the darkness sort of got to you, right? When, ideally, or when you came here as a soul to help uplift humanity. So in order for us to do our mission, we still have to be in love with the very people we came here for, whether we can fully understand it or not. It's that holding that pure intent around the collective and seeing that something happened to it, not that the collective itself is faulty, but rather it experienced something dark. It's a very different perspective, and they're just asking us to remember that while we're watching some crazy stuff go down. Physical action at this time, charm, art, and beauty are the ways to use your intuition and get your ideas going. So as we're processing heavy energy for a collective group that you may or may not feel should be doing their own work, and you're right, either way you look at it, you're right. I mean, we're here to help process, and yeah, you should do your own work. But if we focus on that, it lowers our vibration and we go down. So we need to think about, okay, what's the mission? What's the job, right? Heal humanity, raise the vibration. How do we do that? We do that by focusing on the beauty in life, the beauty in humanity, the beauty in nature, the beauty in your ability to create. Focus in on those things that raise the vibration back up, because as you do that, right, you're raising your personal vibration, and that helps raise the collective vibration. And in doing so, you're cracking yourself open to your more intuitive state. More can flow in and help you communicate what you're here to do, right? So if you're spending your time focusing on what you don't like, you're actually not creating what you want. And they're saying, focus on what you want and create it. And then that's going to spread the message, right? I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now let's look at outcomes for the moon in Cancer in the third house of communication. Spiritual outcome at this time. The attraction of intuition to protect your ideas. So as we allow ourselves to ground and recharge, you're going to see your intuition really, it amps up, because we're in a rampage right now. And as we're going through this, again, we're going through this cellular turnover that's happening. You're changing rapidly, right? So understand that your access to information is widening all the time. As you allow yourself to ground and get charged back up, intuition is right there. The next thing you need to do, whatever it is you're focused on, whatever it is you feel like you need guidance in, right there. Mental outcome at this time, pleasure from attitudes from the past about short-term thinking and trips. So again, they're talking about early childhood, or just, being in the mind of a child, seeing through your inner child's eyes, right? The magical child is what we're trying to access here, because the magical child has the tools for healing, miracles, and creation within it. And partly what we're healing right now is any wounds that our inner child holds, so that it can fully access its magical nature, because we start all as magical children and then can turn into the wounded child and neglected child and so on. So we're clearing out the heavy stuff. It's going right to the core so that we can access our magical child nature. once we can access the thinking of our magical child nature, our idea about why we're here or what we're doing or what's happening right now, it really radically opens up and shifts, and possibility really becomes available to us because we're thinking differently. We're thinking in a more open and expanded mindset when we're tapping into magical child thinking. It sees possibility in everything. And so if you feel like you're at a point right now in your personal journey where you feel like there's a wall or a block, or you're at a standstill, or you don't know direction, ground, charge up, look at the wounds or the emotions that are coming forward, allow that to process. So you allow that to come out first. But right behind that, there's so much like intuition coming up, access to magical child perspective and understanding coming online. The answers, the solutions you're looking for, so clear after doing all these, these things that help you line up to it. Right? Physical outcomes at this time, good times resulting from the history of who and what is around you. So this again is sort of a nod to the people you surround yourself with is going to sort of be the amalgamation of you or your perspective, right? So notice who you're hanging out with and what kind of energy they're predominantly holding. This one isn't so much about, clean them out, but be aware. It's like if you find yourself that you're more pessimistic right now, are you hanging out with the pessimistic friends, right? Or talking to the pessimistic relatives? Maybe you need to balance that with some people that feel more like part of your tribe or your perspective, just so you can feel the enjoyment and the excitement again, because this is a complicated period because it's not black or white. It's many shades of gray, and there's so much to be excited about at this time, while there's also stuff that's going to stress us out, and it's going to make us feel overwhelmed, maybe fearful at times, right? So you want to pay attention to who and what you're surrounding yourself with. I mean, like if you're going to movies about atomic bombs being blown up, and then you're watching the news and they're talking about impending war, I mean, you see that you're kind of creating the atmosphere and the cycle for that energy. Whereas if you're surrounding yourself with people who are also doing the healing work, who are also focused on the mission and the goal and the uplifting of the planet and seeing the synchronicities that are happening, you're going to notice and feel that too. And what they're really saying is you naturally sort of lean into the vibrational match of you, and that will feel good because they're talking about this good time coming through. So just pay attention what you're doing, rebalance it if you need to, and if you feel like the energy is predominantly low, what can you do to raise it? It's not your job. You don't have to, but what could you do to raise it? Sometimes redirecting the conversations to something more pleasant helps, right? And or pay attention to what you're hanging around. Maybe it's time to go for a walk. Maybe it's time to get outside. Maybe it's time to hang out with the people who want to meditate and focus on bringing in more light. And whatever you're choosing right now, it seems like you're going to feel good about it. So focus in on what's going to help you do that. I hope you feel more grounded. I cannot wait to get this out of my system, but I am very grateful to be here with you and bringing you more messages. If you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps my channel grow. And just as a fun side note, my channel's options are growing. I have guided meditations coming out on my YouTube channel that I cannot wait to share with you. And they are also available now on Insight Timer. So I'm now a meditation teacher on Insight Timer. You can follow me at Cherish Tucker there, or look for Blythe Starlight and meditate with me on the Insight Timer app. And with that, I am sending you so much love. Mwah! And I look forward to seeing you next week.